Hey Kishore, hey everyone, nice to see you.
Nice to see everyone. Ryan, it's funny. I think I sort of got to know about you when I was talking the Forbes CMO list, and you are probably like the youngest person to be there on the list, I think. So I was like, oh, who is this person? And I realized that you worked at G2 and HubSpot and some legendary companies before. So super excited to have you here, Ryan. If you don't mind,
Thank
I would just like
you.
to get a quick sort of introduction from you, very quick introduction, and then we can sort of dive into some questions I had noted down.
Yeah, sure. Well, hi everyone. I wish I could see all of you. My name is Ryan Bonnici. I'm the CMO at Gympass. Gympass is the world's largest employee benefit and the most loved employee benefit. So we give millions of people around the world access to the best well-being partners as a sponsored perk for their company. So if your company doesn't have Gympass, totally check it out. But no, I'm obsessed with Gympass, Kishore, because I'm like literally the biggest user of the
Right,
product.
correct.
But before I became a big user of Gympass, I'm Australian. You can probably hear from my accent. So I
Right.
started my career down under, started marketing in kind of like the e-commerce days, back when blogging started and blogs were starting to move into e-commerce. And I got a job at Microsoft doing kind of B2C marketing and email marketing, and it was like very first kind of thing. And from there, I moved into B2B at Salesforce and Exact Target, and then at HubSpot. So kind of have done all sorts of segments from like SMB all the way up to like, strategic enterprises. And then after that, I kind of wanted to learn something else. And so I went into marketplace marketing, which is what I did at G2, taking G2 Crowd to G2 and really scaling up the size of their audience. And now, as I mentioned, I'm at Gympass, which is another marketplace essentially, but even maybe more complicated than G2 because, we sell to companies like Tesla and Morgan Stanley and Bank of America, and they then give Gympass as a perk to their employees. So it's kind of like B2B to C. And then those employees go to partners like SoulCycle and F45 and Solid Core and Lifetime Fitness and Crunch and Orange Theory. So it's B to B to C to P, if you really want a mouthful. And so, I just like love kind of throwing myself into areas that I maybe don't have the skills in, Kishore, and I like learning on the job, and I like applying learnings from different parts of marketing and different segments. And anyways, that's a little bit about my background.
That's
Happy to
great.
dive in
Yes.
wherever it makes sense.
No, Ryan, that's fantastic. The first thing, Ryan, I got curious was I think you were probably like the first marketer in the HubSpot APAC team, right? I think when they decided to
Mm.
expand into APAC, you were probably like the first marketer to sort of set up that whole team and scale it. Just talk to us about like how the first 90 days looked like when you were like the first person in a company that is trying to scale internationally. Like how does it even feel? Like what do you even do? Would just like how to get more about.
Yeah. Yeah, well, almost even before HubSpot, I did the same thing for Exact Target. So Exact Target was, a kind of like, it was similar to like Braze and, now it's
Wow.
Salesforce Marketing
Mm.
Cloud. But so I was the first marketer there, kind of did it. Exact Target was then acquired by Salesforce. And then I ran marketing for Salesforce Marketing Cloud across all of JPAC, so Japan, Asia Pacific. So anyways, by the time HubSpot came around, I'd kind of made a name for myself in the market. Australia's a small country, right? So I made a name for myself as sort of like the person that if you're a tech company from the US launching in Asia, like this is someone who, has seen the movie
Right.
before. And so I think that's what HubSpot saw in me. And so I think the first 90 days, to be honest, there was obviously a lot of skills that I brought from those companies, but there was also a lot of skills that I had to learn at
Right.
HubSpot. And so inbound marketing wasn't something that was a huge driver of business growth at Exact Target and Salesforce. They were both very like advertising, outbound heavy companies. And over time, I think they pivoted to do a nice combination of inbound and outbound. But yeah, it was like getting to know the team, getting to know the database, getting to know like our sales targets and which channels were driving MQLs, which types of MQLs were converting to revenue at the best conversion rate. which MQLs were generating the highest value opportunities. I mean, really, like I love data. I feel like I look like a brand marketer, or people think I'm a brand marketer, and I'm actually like really like a revenue centric, like data driven geek. I like live for that stuff. But I also really appreciate the brand side of the house. But yeah, it was kind of like, again, for me, I'm always thinking when it comes to marketing, like how do I build a revenue engine? To me, like marketing's job is revenue. And I think about that from three angles. Like, how do I build the most like predictable, like sustainable, and like profitable revenue channel for the sales team? And so predictable means like, how do I not just rely on stunts and events, but how do I get like a consistent stream of revenue coming in? Profitable meaning like, I don't just want to generate noise and leads for the sales team. I want to generate quality ops that close. And then sustainability, right? Like some channels are going up, some channels are going down. And so I think as a marketer, you're constantly having to look at your channel mix and say like, hey, which channels are declining, which channels are inclining, and let's make sure that we're investing into future channels to continue with that sustainable growth. So I kind of view everything that I do in that lens, and then everything is just a byproduct of driving revenue in the short term or in the long term. And long term is more brand, and short term is more like revenue demand gen marketing.
Right. On that point, so I still wonder, for example, if you put me in a new country, asking me to like lead marketing for a US based company, let's say, right? I would still be sort of figuring out what exactly to do, etc., right? Like how would you how do you make some quick wins when you are actually in a new country trying to expand the business there? Like how should marketers think about it if they are trying to expand internationally and trying to set up a team there?
Yeah. That's a really good question. I mean, I kind of like made my career on the regional marketing piece. So I think like firstly, like knowing your market is really important. And that's like, that can be really simple in many ways, right? So like after being in that market for a long time, like I knew good venues for events. I knew like who were the thought leaders in the space. And so like, in a region, you're really trying to like build relationships and work out like where do the people that the regional market, like who do they look to? Where do they go? What publications do they read? What do they care about? And how can I, as like the marketer for a brand, like bring my story, my product into their world in a way that's beneficial for them, right? And I think one of the things that inbound marketing really taught me, and this is just more philosophical, I guess, but is, like people want to be helped, like, and people don't want to be sold, right? So again, regardless of who it is that you're selling to, working out like what is it that this buyer persona cares about, and how can I help them do their jobs better, right? So like at Gympass, for example, right, like we're in many countries around the world, and our regional marketers are constantly thinking, okay, like we know the pains that a HR person feels, we know the pains that employees feel. How can we connect that with what's going on in a specific market? Are there, specific channels in a market, right? Like, WhatsApp's huge in Singapore, WhatsApp's huge in Latin America, WeChat's huge in Japan, or is it China? I can't remember. Right, like there's like typical things that are common, and then there's also like things that are very country specific that you sort of need to learn. But again, I think like connecting with your sales team, right? Like that would be my probably biggest bit of feedback to any regional marketer would be like become best friends with your sales team. They're the ones doing conversations with prospects day in, day out. They will be such a useful tool for you to really learn what's going on and what the pains are.
That makes sense, Ryan. And then one thing that was interesting after HubSpot was you got an opportunity to lead the marketing team at G2, right? Becoming the CMO of the company, which was interesting because that's like the tough transition to take, right? When you actually like moving from a sort of a senior director of marketing to a CMO role at a growth stage company. How did that work out? Like, did Godad know you from before, or like how did that sort of opportunity come through? And
yeah. So one of my previous CMOs, was on the board. So my previous CMO at Exact Target,
I see.
Tim Kopp,
Tim
was on,
Corporate,
and
right?
he was like ex Coca-Cola and done a lot of great things. He's now, I believe, the CEO of Terminus,
Right.
and he was on the board. He had put my name, I believe, in the ring a few times, and I spoke to the G2 team and spoke to Godard, and the timing wasn't right, and even to be honest, the timing when I left HubSpot, there's I would never change anything, but there's a part of me that was also really sad to be leaving HubSpot
Right.
because, I loved the team there. I love and still have so much respect for Kip, who leads the team there.
Right.
And so like I didn't feel like my journey was finished at HubSpot. But it was really hard, right? Like to your point, like as a senior director to turn down a CMO role and at a company that was like very relevant to my world, right? Like I've always worked in software and tech, and G2 is the number one place you go to learn about
Yeah.
software and learn about like what is the best software for you. So it was like it connected dots on a lot of levels. And so anyways, Godard and his co-founders, we kept meeting and we realized there was alignment at like
At
a personal level and product level, and that's sort of how it came about.
That's awesome. And and one thing, I get very fascinated by marketplaces because it's very tough to scale. If they scale, if it works out, you can become a true leader in the space, right? And when you joined G2, I'm assuming that G2 was still at the infancy of being known in the market, right? I think at a rough Series B, roughly, if I'm correct, right? At the stage. How did you scale both sides of the marketplace, Ryan? Like you have to onboard users to give reviews, but also get companies to participate in the G2 network. Like how do you balance these two sides of the marketplace, and what did you prioritize for us, and what did you guys do to get these two?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think one thing that we always believed at G2 was that the more buyers you have, the more sellers you will have, right?
Hmm.
So and like that's kind of like the demand side. So
Right.
demand being buyers and companies, software companies being suppliers, I guess. And so I think for me, it was always like, how do we grow the front end of the marketplace so that millions and millions and millions of software buyers are coming to g2.com every month? Because if you do that piece,
Correct.
then you can convert those people into reviews and you can convert those people into leads for the suppliers. But like they're the prospects, right? That the
Right.
companies are targeting. So if you can get buyers, like software buyers coming to the marketplace, then sellers will come. The sharks always come.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. But so that was kind of like how we really focused on doing so. And then, we would leverage the data about the front end of like how many million buyers were coming to the site every month. And we use that in product marketing and sales enablement
Yes.
to then articulate the value of the marketplace.
Why you should be there in
So
workplace? Yeah.
yeah, and we grew traffic like several 100% year on year,
Wow.
through a lot of organic means, really.
Right. So then on that point, just taking the supply side, right, like the user side of the equation, right, and trying to get users to sort of give reviews, participate in the G2 network. What channels did you guys use to scale that? Is it primarily through like content and SEO to sort of get people to come on the page and fill reviews, or how do you solve that problem of getting people to the page and also asking them to submit reviews for each and every category?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's interesting about the product, right, is that the moment one person leaves a review on any product or company, a profile is created, right?
Mm.
And so naturally, if this one person left a moderate review or a bad review, even very quickly, the social nature of G2 kind of
Right.
incentivizes the company to want to
To
generate more reviews.
more
So,
reviews. So good point.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't remember, it's been a while now.
Right.
But I think like reviews came through like three channels. I think it was like organic, so people coming to the website, using it, and then us then promoting. We're saying, hey, like you used us to buy HubSpot like 3 months ago. Tell us how your
Oh,
implementation of HubSpot is going. I think a third would then be through the companies themselves, like
right.
emailing their own customers and saying, hey, leave reviews for us on
Right.
G2. And I think the other third was through like paid media, right? So we did a lot of work to drive reviews through advertising,
Right.
where sometimes we would offer like a $25 Amazon gift
Exactly.
card
Mhm.
and things like that. And yeah, and you know, then over time, like we developed when I was there, the software awards. It's
Right.
like the world's best software, and
Yes.
that
That was like
competition in and of
great
itself,
thing.
like
Yeah.
companies wanted to win, so like they
Yeah.
then generated more reviews for their
Right.
companies, and so just kind of, you know, there's no silver bullet. It's really
Right.
about just like layering
Kind of
things
thing.
on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, nowadays, even a small number like $25 doesn't look like a large number to people. They're expecting more to fill in reviews and stuff. But
Yeah, yeah,
this thing transition.
totally.
On the point, and I want to take a few questions from folks. One is from Ankur, who's asked, "How do you drive shared accountability between marketing and sales?" Right, MQLs, SALs, and downstream revenue are all partially driven by marketing and sales. So I'm curious how you've structured orgs and goals to drive shared accountability and maximum impact.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of are already on the answer, Anchor. I mean, like the fact like that you have like shared goals is really where shared accountability starts, right? So when we do planning at Gympass, for example, we we work out, we kind of start with annual planning, and so we'll look at, okay, what is our sales target going to be for the year based on our current growth trajectory and improvements in productivity at each reps and by different regions, etc. And then again, we look back at the historicals and we say, okay, like what percentage of revenue last year did the marketing team generate? And what are we doing to increase that percentage, right? So, I think we just closed out our Q1 of this year, and I went like, we had a really great Q1. We've had a really great few years, like skyrocket growth at Gympass. It's been wild. Um, and basically we then start to kind of work backwards. And so in Q1, I think we sourced about 30% of all of the revenue, all of the net new revenue that we closed at Gympass came through marketing. So anyways, again, that was above what we had committed. So again, it comes down, Anchor, to like committing to a number. So like if I'm just going to use simple numbers, like if sales has a target of $100 million, in the year, I would be looking backwards and I'd say, okay, like in the past, what percentage of that number did marketing drive? Let's say marketing drove 10%. Then you could say, okay, we keep driving 10%, that will be $100,000 of this new $1 million target. Now, obviously, you need to be like, okay, is that realistic? Are our channels going to scale at the same rate as sales channels have scaled? If not, are there other layers or channels that we need to layer in? And then it's really about, like, again, whatever that number is you choose, like whether it's 10%, 50%, and it might be different via different segments. So for our SMB segment at Gympass, marketing is responsible for 100%. Like we source 100% of the revenue. Whereas for enterprise, we source maybe 10 to 20%. So again, like it's like kind of aligning on what percentage of the total pie are you going to deliver, and then delivering on it, right? And if you're under delivering, like calling that out to sales and working out why you're under delivering. Is it not enough MQLs, like poor quality MQLs? The MQLs aren't being worked fast enough. Like again, you need to connect with sales and you need to work out really closely like what's going on. And optimize accordingly and adjust so that you can hit your goals. But that to me is really how you drive sales and marketing alignment, is by knowing like, okay, like the sales team's head is on the chopping block to hit this number. Like, what can I do to support them in hitting their number? And by driving more revenue is probably one of the best ways.
Awesome.
So that was a long answer.
Yeah, no, that's very fair. This one question, obviously, it's on everyone's mind these days. Hey, we all want predictable pipeline. This is from TJ, right? Hey, Ryan, we all want predictable pipeline and revenue, but what advice do you have for everyone on getting the resources we need to achieve that, given the current environment? Where do you focus? Marketing, as you know, is often the first place looked at as short-term cost savings and efficiencies. I know the standard answer. I know how you think about it.
I kind of want to know, TJ, like what you think the standard answer is, to be honest. Maybe you can drop your standard answer into like the public chat. I'd be curious what it is, but I'll start. Look, there's a few things in this question. So for me, regardless of the economic environment, like where I always choose to focus, like immediately is revenue. Yeah. So in my view, and this might be controversial, but in my view, like when marketing drives revenue, that is what earns marketing the right to do non-revenue generating marketing, right? So like big brand campaigns and that sort of stuff. That's like fun. But it's like less connected to revenue specifically. So in my mind, it's like get your channels and get your playbook down pat for how you drive revenue in the most efficient way possible. And then that allows you to kind of like play bigger and test and experiment. But again, I think the other thing that I want to call out is that, in the environment that we're in today, there's so many things that you as a marketer could be doing. And I think it's really like, so my team at Gympass, I think I have about 350 people on it. And of the 350, I think around 120 of them are like pure play marketers. I have a broader team than just marketing. But so like, let's say we have a marketing team of about 120. Like I work with them to be cutthroat on like, what are the channels we're going to play in? Like, what are the channels we're going to rely on, and what things are we going to say no to? And it can be, it can be really easy, I think, for a CEO to be like, oh, look, this new channel just launched. We should be on that. And I think the less resources you have, the more focused you need to be in terms of like the core aspects of marketing that work. And so, I think it really like comes down to focusing on revenue specifically, like trimming things that don't drive revenue in an economic climate like we're in right now, whilst also building for the future, So I think that's what I'd answer. Yeah, and I'm seeing your standard answer right now. Show a clear ROI of what you're already doing, keep productive channels producing. Yes, you're right. Like what I'll add to that though is like we have a lot of different channels that drive different like variances of ROI for us. And I will cut like channels that even are driving a positive ROI because I'll want to reinvest those channels into other channels that might be, producing 1.5x, 3x the ROI of the other channels. So, it's always kind of about thinking about that. And then, again, like, can I slim down what I'm doing and like double down on a few core channels? Because the more you do, the less you're going to do it well. It's just like a human nature fact. So I'd prefer to be doing less, but to do the fewer things.
Right. On that question, there's an exact question from Jane. What is working best right now for you for driving revenue, and what are you done with? Like, what have you sort of completely like cut down on from your experience the last year or two for your business, let's say for Gympass?
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, so I think what has always worked best and will continue to be best are owned or earned channels. And what I mean by that is, right, like nothing works better than like email database, right? Like if you have people that have like, they've shown interest in your company or in your space and they've, signed up to your newsletter or to your like downloads or to your ebooks. I mean, like, hello, they're giving you a pretty like high intent signal that they're interested in your world. And not only that, now you have like first party data on them, like they've given you their name, their email address, maybe their job title. So I would say like leveraging your own channels, like your website, like your email database. Like I'll give you another example on our website. We recently made a change to our homepage, and we doubled. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we doubled the percent of conversions from the homepage. So literally, imagine if previously, 100 people were converting every month on our homepage. Now 200 people are converting purely from a design and copy exercise. So again, that's like, I don't need more water in the funnel. I just need to make the funnel more efficient. So I think like that's a no-brainer place to look. And that obviously becomes less useful the less traffic you have, right? If you don't have much stuff coming in at the top, then there's nothing really to optimize. So it's hard to give like a one size fits all answer here. I think it really depends on where what your demand gen engine looks like. But again, own channels are always really good because you're not having to deal with like algorithms and, like changes in visibility of like you're posting on social channels. And then in terms of the last part of your question, channels that are done, I don't know. I don't know if any channel's really done, to be honest. Like I might have said a few years ago that I thought billboards were done. And I think now billboards are fabulous because like they're not as expensive as they used to be. They can be a fun way, like depending on your product, they can be a really good way to generate buzz. I think it's like old channels like that you can use them differently and in different ways. Like LinkedIn's having a resurgence now. I feel like people are much more active on LinkedIn. So I don't know. I'm never too like quick to like call a channel out.
Right.
I don't think there's any that don't work really.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like two questions on that front. One is that homepage point was very interesting actually. Like what do you guys exactly do, if I may ask? Like is it more along like copy to ensure like value props are reflected well, conversion? Like what is the
Yeah, good question. So previous on the homepage, so if you think about our business, and if you think about the website traffic coming to our site, like we have like, tens, maybe hundreds of millions, or I could be overspeaking there, but like tens to hundred of million people, right, have access to Gympass through their company. So as you could imagine, we get a lot of traffic coming to our website from employees of our customer companies who want to sign up for it, or they might want to log into their account. And so previously the website was really optimized for them. It was really optimized for like the end consumer. And one of the big changes we made was we optimized the homepage for not just the end consumer, but also the B2B buyer. If you go to our homepage today, you'll see I'm a company or I'm an employee. Previously it was just I'm an employee. And I think the hypothesis previously was that, okay, if you just have one simple call to action, you'll convert more employees. Counterintuitively, what we found was by adding 2 CTAs, now we have much higher conversion rates and completion rates, because previously we had a lot of companies that were trying to sign up through the employee sign up flow and they were getting lost. So
interesting. Is this one you mean, or for companies? Like I see what you mean.
So basically, like if you're a company, you go through the for companies link because you need to obviously buy it for your employees first.
Right.
Once your company has bought it, then you check your eligibility as an employee. And so previously we just had this for employees flow, and now we have both.
Company sort of makes sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and again, not a huge change, right? But wild results.
Yeah.
Wild results.
Yeah. And then on the point to again Jane's question, right? Are there any activities that you did that you've sort of completely cut down on? Because it's very hard to cut down on things, right? Because once you're in the motion of doing things, right, it just becomes so important, and you're like, I don't want to, like, how do you?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree. Once you're doing something, you're in the motion. It's hard to cut down. I don't really think that way. I kind of like let the numbers speak for themselves. And also your time, right, is really expensive as well, right? So again, that was to my point earlier. If you have like 3 different channels that are all positive ROI, but one is significantly higher than the other, if you could like divest this channel and reinvest that in another channel and keep getting the same ROI on that other channel, then it would make much more sense in my mind to do that, because now you're focusing on 2 things instead of 3 things, and so you can do them better. But yeah, I don't think there really are. There are channels that I use less and less. Like I feel like in-person events, like I don't do anywhere near as much of that these days. I think part of that's COVID related, but also like depending on what you sell, events in person can be quite costly from a budget perspective, very costly from a time perspective. And again, that's not to say they don't have a heap of value. They have a ton of value at building community and connecting your sales reps with prospects live. It just really depends like what you're optimizing for and what you have the budget to do.
Right. On the question, Ryan, there is one from Chaitra who's asking, what does your event strategy look like this year?
Yeah, we really cut back on our event strategy in the last year, I would say. Not because I don't believe in events, like I philosophically do. It's just that I don't think we were previously leveraging events at Gympass more for brand awareness, more to help sales engage with prospects that they were already talking to. And so when I joined Gympass and started to like work with the team to analyze the ROI of our events, it was really hard to show like any net new revenue coming from them. And I'm the kind of like marketer that really likes to measure marketing based off of like net new revenue that we source, because influence is such a fluffy thing. And I do believe in influence, but like my board, like if I'm going to have to like sit down with my board of directors or my CFO, my CFO is amazing. He gets it. But I don't want to have to like talk about fluffy numbers with my board, right? I want to have the hardcore metrics that are like, hey, if you, Mr. and Mrs. Sales Leader, didn't have marketing, this is the percentage of revenue you wouldn't have had last
Uh,
quarter.
like
So I really,
100%.
and again, it's
Yeah.
that to me earns you the right to then explore other parts of marketing that might not be as like hard ROI centric, and that's okay. Not everything has to be that way, but you need to be able to demonstrate enough hard ROI to justify your cost, and profit, as a result of that cost.
No, that's a great that's a great point. It's tough to do that, Ryan, but you seem to be successful at it. But that's awesome. Um,
Hmm. Well,
there
there's so
is
many questions coming through.
yeah.
Gosh.
I've sort of completely like ripped my questions and then sort of taking the audience questions because that seems more interesting. This question I thought will come up, Ryan, and I want to take it up quickly. From JC James. Hey, Ryan, how do
Yeah.
you make a jump from the management role to the CMO? Because
Yeah. So
that's
I
the
think I was really lucky, JC, because we talked a little earlier about regional marketing, right? And so I ran APAC at Salesforce, I ran APAC at HubSpot, I ran APAC at Exact Target. I didn't realize this at the time. But being a head of marketing for a US company in a region is like the best training ground because firstly, it forced me to be a full stack marketer, right? PR reported to me, brand didn't report to me. So PR reported to me like social, demand gen, events, like all the basically the full stack of
full.
marketing like is in your control. And then it's your job as a regional person to decide like where am I going to get the best ROI. So it teaches you to focus because there's lots of things that you can do. It also, I think I was really lucky because I was in Australia, I was on the other side of the world. And so to be honest, I had like an hour of crossover with my boss each day. So it kind of was alone and that worked really well for me. I like working autonomously and it forced me to like learn how to take risks and to try different things and to believe in myself. And so anyways, I think that like the regional experience really set me up nicely so that when I then became in the US, and took on more roles over here, I felt like
Yeah.
I was comfortable making big calls myself. I think the other thing
Mm,
I would say too is like nothing is more important for a CMO than revenue, right? Like nothing's more important for a company really than revenue, right? Yes, your employees are uber important, um, but if you don't have any revenue, you can't have any employees, right? And so
right.
I think revenue has always been really central to, I think, my success and because of my obsession with it. And I think that message speaks really well to a CEO when you talk about revenue, right? That message resonates with a board of directors. So I'm not the kind of CMO to talk about like fluffy metrics with those audiences. I really want to showcase the hard ROI. And so I think like there are just a few of the ingredients. I mean, I also just think like luck is part of it. But I also put in time and effort into like
Right.
building a brand online, right? Like I've been creating content for a long time online. Like I've written for everyone from, I started with really small publications in Australia and then worked my way up to like writing for like Fortune and Harvard Business Review and Fast Company. And again, that doesn't happen overnight, right? It's like you start
Right.
with like smaller pubs and then reach out to a little bit bigger pubs and they reference the smaller work and then you get them and then they look back there. And so like you've got to put in time to build it. And I think all of those things combined help me have the credibility, help me have the experience and helped get me where I am. But I've also been really lucky. I've been really privileged and I don't take any of that for granted.
No, that's well said, Ryan. And also the point about this brand building online, at least I find this very interesting, especially now. Even I'm trying to create content, etc. It's definitely hard. For people who think it's easier to do it every week, I find it
Mm,
very, very hard to actually consistently create content every week and like
yeah.
think about new thoughts. Like, what is your sort of opinion on that? Like, how do you come up with like fresh ideas? Like, what's your
You know what? It's funny you say that for sure. I haven't really done anything proactively for my personal brand. Like I rarely post on social these days. Like I post on my Instagram, like just like ephemeral stuff with my family and my son. None of it's marketing, business related. To be honest, I think in the last 3 years since I had a child, I haven't done anything in that space. Um, But I think I'm lucky enough that I put in so much time before then, like a decade's worth of work before then, so I have like, I think across, Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter, I probably got like 250,000 people
Yeah,
following me across those
amazing. Yeah,
channels. And
yeah,
so I like put in the effort. I don't really leverage that audience anymore, to be honest, but that's the nice thing about building your brand while you're building
yeah.
your company's brand, is that your personal brand then becomes something that you can leverage for your future company.
100%. Yeah,
So, but yes, I wish I had a good answer for you, Kishore, but
natural.
I don't really put much into it these days. I think if I wanted to, like, I would probably be scheduling time on my calendar once a week
Right,
to like think about like what's top of mind
right.
and then work on it. But I think the more people you manage, like the bigger your
Yeah,
team,
yeah,
the harder it is to do that kind of stuff. Like
right.
I'm so busy often like doing internal team stuff that I'm rarely thinking about my own
Thing,
brand. And I
right,
don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm kind of happy with that.
right. Is the company primarily remote, Ryan, or is your team remote?
I'd say like we're a remote first company. I'm not sure how our HR team would define it, but we do have offices around the world. I personally love going into the office. I'm not in the office today because I had a bit of
Gee,
a accident on my bike yesterday, so I'm working from home. But um, but I normally go in, but most people don't go into the office. Like I think TLDR, like we don't really care where you work
yeah,
from, so long as you're effective. And if you can work really effectively from a beach, good for you. If you can work really effectively from a cafe, great. At home, at the office, like just do great work, have a good life. Like that's all we care about.
yeah. Right. One question for you, that's something I'm figuring out, and even we are figuring out, is that how do you actually sort of bring the team's creativity into the marketing mix if they're all working remotely and siloed? Like, have you thought about it? Like, what's your sort of way to bring those folks together and brainstorm discussions and ideas and stuff?
That's a really great question. Um, I mean, I think the broader question of like how do you drive creativity through a
Yeah,
marketing team like
100.
is a challenge regardless of whether you're remote or in person.
Right.
I really think it comes down to creating an environment of psychological safety with your team and setting good expectations around like what you expect. And like I expect a lot of creativity. I want to do different and creative and out there things. And I think I hopefully try and show the team that by supporting those things. Like so for example, like we're launching a HR podcast in a few months, but it's not like a traditional HR educational podcast. Like the name of it is Murder in HR, and it's like it's a fictional podcast, right? Set inside a tech company. There's a murder. HR is trying to work out who the murderer was. So it's kind of
Oh,
like
wow.
Knives Out meets The Office meets Parks and Rec. It's like comedic. Um, and again, like that's the kind of thing that like is out of the box. And again, like I wouldn't be doing those kinds of things if we weren't hitting and supporting our revenue goals in the way that we should. But I
Right.
think we've earned the right to do those other things. And those other things can be wildly successful. It's not to say that revenue activities are here and like brand fun stuff doesn't impact things. It totally does. But
Right.
it's more likely to fail, I think, right? Like it's less linear growth like the
Right.
traditional, demand gen marketing is.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you're trying something, maybe it works and it could be a huge success, or maybe it's a flop, and that's okay as well.
That's well said. I think Ankur from the chat is sort of really digging that creative angle that you mentioned in the podcast. So that's awesome, Ryan. One last question, Ryan, about the org structure that Kimberly mentioned. Let me take this question.
Mm.
Uh, Preferred structure for marketing, leadership, brand, creative, performance marketing, or SDR as part of the marketing team. Like, how have you structured your marketing team? Like,
Yeah,
who's
yeah, yeah. So
yeah, yeah,
So I can tell you about how my team is structured today. So I have a VP of brand, who does your traditional like brand things. So like design, brand identity, like serves as an internal agency for the company. Um, so as VP of brand, I'm hiring right now a VP of communications. So like traditional PR reports to me. Um, I have a VP of product marketing. I think product marketing is a super important function, often underinvested in. So VP of marketing. I have a VP of marketing operations. I think a lot of CMOs like to have marketing ops sit within their demand gen growth team. I actually always like to have it separate because I think like there's metrics across all of marketing, right? Not just demand gen. And also I think if it sits outside, it serves like that team is kind of like marketing ops and strategy for me. They work for me really, as opposed to working for my revenue marketing leader. And so I think their goals are my goals. They're not tied to one of my VP's goals specifically. So they're more objective, I think. And also like if they sit in the revenue org, the marketing revenue org or revenue marketing, then they're naturally going to focus on more revenue marketing related operations. And I would prefer to have them report to me. And if we need them to focus on more revenue marketing stuff, great. But so that's that. I have a VP of revenue marketing. I have a VP of content marketing. God, am I missing anyone? They're the core marketing roles that I have on my team. And then I mentioned there's like another team that reports into me that's probably less relevant to like this audience here right now. But that is my team. I'm hoping to God I didn't forget anyone. It's been a really long day. So yeah, but brand, comms, product marketing, content marketing, marketing operations, and revenue marketing are the big ones.
Got it. And if you eventually create like an events team, Ryan, will they report into the content person? Or
so it depends. It depends. Like if they're doing like kind of company events, so like let's say we were going to do an annual conference, then I would have them sit in brand. And then if they're doing more field marketing events that's tied to revenue, they'd sit in the revenue marketing org. Is how I would think about it.
Makes sense. Awesome. Right, I've tried to take most of the questions. There are still some questions coming on the way, but I think we're running out of time. So I want to be respectful of your time. And if folks want to connect, I'm sure that they can connect with you on LinkedIn. Is that the right place for them to reach out?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think you can only follow me on LinkedIn now because I've reached my max number of connections or something. But yeah, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, like go for it. I'm the same. I'm just like at Ryan Bonnici on all of them.
Awesome. Ryan, it's been a pleasure to host you, Ryan. One question before I let you go. Who's one more CMO that we should have on the show that you respect and you should like absolutely like?
Yeah, there's so many great CMOs out there. One of my favorites is Jamie Gilpin, CMO at Sprout Social. Highly recommend chatting to her. Another CMO I think is just incredibly amazing is Sarah, who is the CMO over at Braze. I don't think she's there anymore. Sarah Spivey. Another, really remarkable, strong leader. There's so many. I mean, Megan Eiselberg, who was at Trip Actions and now is at, I can't remember where she went to. Also really, really strong CMO. They're just some folks that immediately come to mind.
Awesome. Ryan, it's been a pleasure, Ryan. I absolutely love chatting with you and hopefully also becoming a Gympass customer soon at some point. So
yeah, seriously. Anyone listening, like send it to your HR team. It's really not that expensive, I promise.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Really appreciate your time today. Really had a good time.
Thanks so much. Nice to be here, everyone. Yeah.